In the dim glow of a rainy Chicago night, where streetlights cast long shadows on cracked pavements and sirens wailed like distant ghosts, Officer Mark Reynolds pulled over a sleek black SUV on a quiet side street, his heart pounding with the thrill of unchecked power. But what he didn't know was that this routine stop would unravel his life in a web of corruption, betrayal, and shocking revelations that would shake the foundations of justice itself. If you're in the USA or UK, hooked on edge of your seat tales of racial injustice, crooked cops, and triumphant twists that expose the dark underbelly of authority while delivering pulse-racing empowerment, smash that subscribe button right now and enable notifications to dive into stories that challenge the system and leave you breathless. Officer Mark Reynolds had been on the force for 15 years, a grizzled veteran with a badge tarnished by years of bending rules in a city where corruption flowed like the Chicago River. He patrolled the South Side, where poverty and prejudice intertwined, and tonight, his target was a lone black woman driving what he deemed too nice a vehicle for the neighborhood. Her name was Dr. Elena Washington, though he didn't know that yet, a 42-year-old powerhouse who had risen from the projects of Harlem to become the director of the DEA's Midwest Division, her identity shielded by undercover operations that kept her profile low. Elena was returning from a late-night briefing on a massive drug cartel bust, her mind racing with strategies to dismantle the syndicate that had flooded the streets with cocaine. She noticed the flashing lights in her rearview mirror, sighing deeply. As a black woman in America, she knew the drill all too well: hands on the wheel, no sudden moves, compliance to survive. Mark approached with a swagger, his flashlight piercing the window like an accusation. "License and registration," he barked, his eyes scanning the interior for any excuse. Elena complied calmly, her voice steady with a hint of her New York accent, but Mark's prejudice flared. He saw opportunity, not innocence. Unbeknownst to her, Mark was deep in the pockets of the very cartel she hunted. He planted evidence on suspicious drivers to meet quotas and line his pockets with bribes, a dirty secret shared with a ring of corrupt cops. As Elena reached for her glove compartment, Mark slyly slipped a small baggie of cocaine, supplied by his cartel contacts, into the crevice of her passenger seat during a routine check. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am," he ordered, smirking inwardly at the impending arrest that would boost his record. Elena stepped out, her tailored suit impeccable under the rain, her demeanor unflappable. Mark's search was theatrical, his hands rummaging with feigned purpose until he discovered the baggie. Well, what do we have here? Looks like possession with intent," he sneered, cuffing her wrists roughly, ignoring her protests of innocence. He radioed for backup, visions of promotion dancing in his head, but as he shoved her into the squad car, Elena's phone buzzed incessantly, calls from her DEA team, urgent updates on the cartel raid set for dawn. At the precinct, the interrogation room was stark, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. Mark leaned in, his breath reeking of coffee and entitlement. "Confess, and maybe we'll go easy. Where'd you get the coke?" Elena met his gaze, her dark eyes piercing. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she said softly, a smile tugging at her lips. Mark laughed, dismissing her as another defiant suspect, but then she requested her one phone call. Not to a lawyer, but to a direct line in Washington, D.C. Minutes later, the precinct door burst open with federal agents in tactical gear, badges gleaming under the lights. Mark's superior, Captain Hayes, also in on the corruption, paled as the lead agent demanded Elena's release. The twist hit like a thunderclap. Elena flashed her DEA Director badge, the gold emblem catching the light, her authority undeniable. Mark nearly collapsed, his knees buckling as realization dawned. This wasn't just any woman, she was the head of the agency that could bury him. "You planted that," she stated flatly, her voice now commanding. The room froze. Hidden body cams from her SUV, standard for DEA ops, had captured everything, including Mark's sleight of hand. But the revelations deepened. Elena's stop wasn't random. She had been baiting corrupt elements within the police, her SUV equipped with trackers to map out dirty cops linked to the cartel. Mark's world crumbled further when forensics rushed in. The cocaine he planted matched batches from a recent cartel seizure, tying him directly to the suppliers. In a desperate bid, Mark tried to pin it on a setup, but Elena's team unveiled wiretaps, conversations between Mark and cartel Lieutenant Rico Vargas, where Mark traded protection for cash. The corruption ring extended upward, Captain Hayes had been skimming off busts, selling impounded drugs back to the streets. As handcuffs clicked on Mark's wrists, flashbacks revealed his descent, a once idealistic rookie hardened by a system that rewarded brutality over justice, his racism fueled by departmental whispers and personal failures, a divorce, mounting debts that led him to the cartel's payroll. Elena, watching him being led away, felt no pity. Her own scars ran deep, growing up in poverty, witnessing her brother's overdose on the very drugs she now fought, driving her to the top of the DEA through sheer grit and undercover risks. But the story twisted again. During Mark's interrogation, he spilled beans on a bigger fish, a city councilman, Edward Klein, who orchestrated the corruption to fund his re-election, using police as enforcers. Elena's team raided Klein's mansion that night, uncovering ledgers, cash stacks, and even a hidden lab. Klein, a silver-haired politician with a public facade of anti-crime rhetoric, was arrested mid-speech at a gala, the irony poetic. Yet, personal twists emerged. Elena discovered Mark's ex-wife, a nurse, had been coerced into silence about his abuses, fearing for their daughter. In a redemptive arc, Elena offered protection, helping the woman relocate. Mark, facing life in prison, turned state's witness, exposing a nationwide network linking cops to cartels from Chicago to Los Angeles. Elena's promotion followed, but not without cost. A cartel hit was ordered on her, leading to a high-stakes chase through the city's underbelly. She evaded assassins in a rain-slicked alley, her training kicking in, disarming one with a precise shot. The climax unfolded at a warehouse standoff. Rico Vargas held hostage Elena's undercover partner, but she infiltrated, using intel from Mark's confessions to turn the tables, rescuing her colleague and dismantling the operation. In the aftermath, Elena stood before Congress, testifying on police reform, her story inspiring bills for body cams and anti-corruption task forces. Mark, from his cell, wrote apologies, his collapse a catalyst for change. Elena's life changed too. She reconnected with a long-lost sister in the UK, who had fled similar injustices, their reunion in London bridging oceans. The badge flash moment became legendary, a symbol of empowerment against systemic racism. Years later, Elena mentored young black officers, her legacy enduring. But one final twist: the cartel had an inside man in the DEA, a mole who planted doubts about Elena's integrity. She uncovered him, her own deputy, jealous of her rise, leading to his arrest. Justice prevailed, but Elena knew the fight never ended, her vigilance eternal in a world of shadows and surprises.